Okay. I'm conscious that there will be people who are wanting to get off and collect train, but we did have a short slot here as a sort of Q&A session, and there are a number of speakers that are still around. So given that this is your opportunity to ask any general questions or raise any issues or just anything that one might want to say that people would feel would be useful to the community, now is your opportunity if you wish to do that.
Thanks very much. Keith Smythe, University of the Highlands and Islands. I think today's been a great event with lots to think about across all the sessions. However, something that's been in the back of my mind as I've listened to all the talks today is that when we talk about learner analytics and looking at student engagement and points of intervention, some of what we're talking about is predicated, at least to some extent, on an assumption that the courses we design and we facilitate are be done to a good or a sound standard. We know that's not always the case. We know that some academics don't make particularly effective use of the VLE, for example. So I'm wondering whether there's some scope to look at how analytics could be applied to academics, gauging their own patterns of teaching, how responsive they are online, how proactive they are online, perhaps in comparison to colleagues in the same programme. Maybe looking at things like where they've plotted assessment deadlines and how they fall against other assessment deadlines in the same programme. Not in a compliance perspective, I think that would be dangerous, but I think in terms of giving our academics another tool to reflect on their own practice and engage in evidence-informed practice, I think looking at student engagement is fine, but I think in some courses and some contexts, the focus should be on what the academics are doing and how they could do it better.
I think that's a very interesting comment. In fact, I was having a discussion with a colleague just down here earlier in the break, and the comment was made that maybe some of the resistance from the academic community around this type of thing is a fear of not so much the monitoring of the students, but the monitoring of the academic delivery.
I think it's a similar challenge to getting a broader range of colleagues, academic colleagues, engaged in open educational practice. It's a nice idea. We know it could offer a lot, but I think for many academics, the content they produce is part of who they are, and how they teach is part of who they are. And you don't necessarily want to share or be scrutinised too closely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is kind of linked to that. It's something that Patrick and I were discussing earlier, the use of learner analytics. It's almost, in the way it's used, to kind of spot issues with the students rather than improve learning. So I wonder what your thoughts are on the way in which analytics could be used to improve learning, and if there's kind of a field of study in relation to that.
Well, I think we saw actually in the first presentation this morning, as one of the outcomes of this type of thing could be around improving learning and improving outcomes if it's fed back to the students. So yeah, absolutely.
Just pick up on the lecturer analytics issue. So when we started our GIST project, we thought there were broadly kind of three areas that we should look at. So, because there are three groups of things that you can change, really. One's the student can change their behaviour. The second is you can change things around the course. So these might be things like time between lectures, time of day, that sort of thing. And the other one is the lecturer's behaviour. It soon became apparent that if we didn't drop the last one, we were never going to get anywhere with the project. So what we're expecting is, and we've had to do things like when we've explained the fields we use for the student model, we've put it into two sections, that for the model and that we actually need to make some of the applications work. So all the things about the tutor are separated off to remove that fear. What we're hoping is that one or two brave institutions out of the kind of 70 odd we've got will then step forward and say, yeah, actually, we do want to tackle that problem, because we don't think it's fair on the students, really. Interestingly, the only organisation that came robustly saying they wanted to do this was a private university, so kind of bring it on. So, yeah, take from that point of view. But we we'd love to work with any institution that actually wants to tackle all the horrible stuff around that we'll have to deal with.
Sorry, it's Scott Connor from the University of Highlands and Islands. Just a quick question. I don't know if Zenic's still here, is he? Is he still here? He's there. He's there, great. It's just thinking back to the plots that you had earlier, Zenic, where you could show the pathways that different students took to get to success, failure, or whether they dropped out. Did you do any analysis of the pathways that were successful that were also unsuccessful at the same time? So the pathway was successful for some students, but the same pathway could be unsuccessful for another student. And what were the differences between those two groups, the successful and unsuccessful, that took the same pathway?
Well, first of all, we analyzed mainly the successful pathways, and obviously this remains to be analyzed better because we wanted to see who is within the footprint, within the.
Okay, I was just wondering because the previous question was about whether we look at what the teaching staff are doing, but that information is already there, because if you actually looked at those different pathways, you might actually find that there's some quite obvious reasons in there, and one of them could be that it's a different member of staff that's doing the teaching.
First of all, this doesn't depend on the teacher so much. It depends on the student. You know, they have complete freedom what to do, and they must somehow accommodate the learning experience with the rest of their lives. So this is the first point. We analyzed a little bit these pathways, and the main question was what is expected student to do, whether it fits with the way to success. And yes, to some extent, yes, but how far you can go from the recommended avenue, from the recommended trail to so that you are successful. We didn't do that because there was so far no time. We used this diagram to map what students haven't done, you know, so because we believe that the recommendation is the strongest at the moment, strongest instrument for improving students, so that's what we did.
Okay, thank you very much. Cheers.
Again, it's just going back to the observation about the learner and staff analytics and stuff like that, and the observation that there are things which can be changed, which aren't, as it were, identified to staff and stuff like that. I think there's a sort of interesting area of analytics which we're probably all doing as institutions around the sort of structural areas of the courses, as opposed to the actual staff part of delivery of the courses in terms of people reviewing their classes, looking at things, issues like exam bunching and stuff like that, all of these which lend themselves to analysis through analytics and things like that. And it's maybe that sometimes it's more of a branding issue that we probably are doing learning analytics in some of these areas which are a bit more contentious. They've just not been described in the same terms. They're in module review activities and committees and stuff like that, but they are learning analytics in the broader sense, and there are interesting insights to be drawn out of them, and some of them probably lend themselves to more machine learning pattern recognition techniques than some of the ones to do with people.
I think in our experience today, I think to go on to the tutor versus the learner analytics, I think institutions provide an environment for self-determinism, and you need to empower the student with the information that they need to be able to make the positive choices. So I think that there is a chance that the tutor will become less relevant if they're not involved in that, proactively involved in it. So they need to see that if you're exposing the learner to the information that they need to make decisions about how to be successful, then they're going to take them. And if the tutor isn't part of that process, then they're going to look out and become less relevant.
Sorry, I was just going to say exactly the same thing there. I was just picking up, I think it was David, one of your slides, David, the top of your slide actually said that you were looking to turn it around and look at it from the learner's point of view, and I think that's exactly right. The minute you give the learners the power to make the decision or to highlight issues or things that need changing, then I think that's the right way to go. I think that's where the power is. It's with the learner.
Right. Well, thank you very much. I think we'll look to draw it to a close there. Just to let you know, the video of this event is online on the UCISA CISG website. Slides of the presentations, of all the presentations, will be put onto that site and will be available for you to download. Any UCISA member should be able to log in and download those slides. Also, there's been an ongoing conversation this afternoon on Twitter, so it's hashtag ULCEQS if you want to have a look at that and see what people have been saying about the topics of discussion today. We would like to say a big thank you to all the speakers who have come and helped contribute and make this to be the good event that it has been today. We would also like to thank our sponsors, DTP, Solution Path, and our exhibitors, ULCC, Hobsons, XMA, and Logicals, for their support in enabling us to put on this event. Also, there is a mobile app, and the mobile app that has been provided by Ex Libris Campus M, so thank you to them, and the live streaming, which has been done by Sonic Foundry, so thank you to them. Just to flag up the next CISG events that are coming up. We have an event in October around data security versus openness, so that should be quite an interesting topics of discussion as one of the hot topics there. And next November we have our annual CISG conference, which this year will be done in partnership with PCMG, and that's down in Brighton next November. So thank you all for coming, thank you all for contributing in your questions and discussions today, and I hope you have a safe journey home. Thank you.